His head bounced off the asphalt with a crack that I'll probably hear in my dreams for the rest of my life. Yeah, that happened. And if you're a parent, you know exactly what I mean. My boy Sam, 11 years old, a little small for his age still, so innocent it hurts, was bleeding on the ground right at the feet of Karen's teenage son Jake, who just laughed and acted like he'd won some kind of prize. I can still see Karen herself standing there with that clap of her hands, her voice cutting through the parking lot. That'll teach him to respect authority. 3 minutes later, that same tough guy was howling for his mom. 5 minutes after that, it was Karen bleeding on the hood. And 10 minutes after that, well, let's just say nobody in that parking lot ever forgot what happens when you lay a finger on my kid. I didn't wake up that Thursday looking for trouble. We just wanted dinner. Sunlight glinted off windshields in the Elmidge market lot. One of those golden afternoons you try to save in your mind because you know, deep down, life doesn't hand them out too often. Sam, still dressed up from his 5th grade graduation button-down shirt and a medal for science, talking a mile a minute about his project. He was just happy, and that made me happy. We picked out the best groceries, thick Wagyu steaks, heirloom tomatoes, a bottle of olive oil I couldn't really afford, but figured, what the hell, you only get so many moments with your kid, right? I told him we'd grill together, just us. Nothing fancy, just memories. We scored a shaded spot up front, felt like a little blessing. I was popping open the trunk when it started. This red Mustang, loud as hell, screeched into the spot next to us, engine snarling, music blasting so hard it made my fillings buzz. Out stepped Jake, a tall, athletic kid, maybe early 20s, mirrored sunglasses, and that kind of swagger that lets you know he's never heard no in his life. He just stood there chewing gum, sizing us up like we were an inconvenience he could step over. I felt Sam shrink behind me, his voice dropping to a whisper. Dad, why is he staring at us? You know that feeling when you realize you're about to get pulled into someone else's mess? That's how it was. Something in the air just shifted, and I knew we weren't going to walk away untouched. Jake pulled off his sunglasses, slow, deliberate, all attitude. You're in my spot, he said, voice thick with entitlement. I kept my cool. It's public parking, buddy. He laughed sharp and mean, not even trying to hide his contempt. Not when my family funds half the HOA around here, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. You think just anybody parks this close? I tried to keep it moving, grabbed another bag from the trunk. Sam gripped my shirt. Jake just took a step closer, looking over our groceries, eyeing the Wagyu. What's that $2.50 a pound? Bet you maxed out your food stamps on that, huh? I froze, because that's how fast ugly things come out of certain people's mouths. He wasn't finished. He looked me up and down and said, My mom says people like you ruin neighborhoods. Show up, pretend you belong, then drag everybody down. People like me? I said, quiet but clear. He grinned. You're not from Willowbrook. You're just passing through. And right then, all the small talk in the world was dead. He leaned in, chewing his gum like he wanted to get hit. Name's Jake Wilson. My mom's Brenda Wilson, HOA president. Maybe you've heard of her, Sam whispered. Dad, let's go, but Jake spat right next to our cart just to prove he could. That was it, he wanted me to hate him. And God help me, it was working. You still with me, because if you saw what he did to my son next, you'd have to ask yourself, would you have held back, or would you have done what I did? Jake took a step forward. Too close. Too deliberate, his breath, all cherry gum and privilege. I put my hand on Sam's shoulder, just trying to stay calm. But Jake wasn't having it. How about you pack your steaks and your kid and drive back to wherever you crawled out of before someone reports a suspicious van by a respectable store? Sam started shaking under my palm. I straightened up. Back off. Jake's eyes lit up like I'd finally given him what he wanted, or what he taunted, arms out. You gonna go all suburban, Dad, on me? Before I could even answer, his shoulder dipped too late. He shoved Sam both hands hard. My kid bounced off the SUV with a sound I'll never forget, crumpled to the pavement, bleeding and sobbing, totally betrayed by a world he thought was fair. I dropped to my knees. Sam, Sam, look at me. But behind me, Jake just laughed. Oops, guess the little rat needed a lesson. That's when Karen arrived, sipping her matcha phone in hand, dressed like she'd never had a day of real work in her life. She looked at my son bleeding and smiled. That's my boy. Gotta teach these people boundaries. Rage doesn't come all at once. It rises, slow like a storm. I saw Jake's smile flicker, saw Karen just sipping her latte like it was brunch. Put people in their place before they start thinking they're equals, she said. That was it. I rose, voice low and cold. You touched my son. Jake shrugged. Yeah, what are you gonna? But I didn't let him finish. I moved fast, all those years of swallowing my pride, boiling up at once. Grabbed him by the jacket, slammed him onto the hood, metal bone ego colliding in one sharp note. The crowd gasped. I pinned him there, elbow in his back, while Karen screeched, Get off my son! I leaned in. Touch my boy again. I won't stop at the hood. Karen lunged. I caught her wrist, popped her back into a row of carts. Her sunglasses flew. Suddenly she wasn't smug, she was scared. You assaulted my baby, she shrieked. He's a minor. You assaulted mine. I shot back loud enough for everyone to hear. Phones were out, people recording the security guard frozen. Jake slid off the hood, slumping to the pavement, all swagger gone. I knelt next to Sam, held him close, kissed his forehead. Are we in trouble, Dad? He whispered. No, son, I said. They are. But I forgot who I was dealing with. That night, after Sam was in bed with an ice pack, I heard the clack of heels in my driveway. Karen, Jake, and a clipboard. Jake was in a sling for effect. Karen chirped, evening. Just wanted to stop by and handle this. She handed me a cease and desist accusing me of violent behavior and community disruption. I just stared. Your son put my kid's head into a car, Jake snorted. Prove it, Karen smiled. Unfortunately, the store's manager is my cousin. Footage doesn't exist. My fist clenched. She kept grinning. You embarrassed my family, humiliated my son. Think you can walk away? Jake voice fake weak. My ribs still hurt, might sue. Karen patted his shoulder. Oh, we will, sweetheart. He'll lose the house before Christmas. That's when something snapped in me. Not loud, not violent, just a promise. I tore the clipboard in half, tossed it at their feet. You think this ends in court? No. You messed with the wrong family. That night I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sam hit that SUV, so I started digging. Karen was president treasurer, head of violations, her name on over 300 citations in a year, most against 5 families. I called 2 Mrs. Delgado a widow, fined for planting flowers, and Travis, a disabled vet, blocked from building a ramp. This wasn't about rules, it was about control. My neighbor Mitch, ex-Marine, called. You hear what that punk did? Keyed my wife's car, left a note. Snitches get stitches. I stormed out. Jake was scootering around, flipping me off. Mitch, you got cameras? He nodded. Pull the footage every minute from yesterday. We weren't alone anymore. Liam, my lawyer buddy, looked at Karen's paperwork. No signatures, no seal, and she can't evict squat. These minutes are fakes. I exhaled, relief washing over me. I texted everyone. Meet at my place 7 p.m. Bring every citation. 9 people showed up. We laid out papers, built our case. I held up Jake's fake injury report next to an Instagram video of him doing parkour, same day he claimed to be bedridden. We stopped them now, not with anger, with evidence, with unity. Thursday night town hall, every seat packed. Karen up front, icy and smug, Jake beside her. I stood in the second row, folder in hand. Karen tapped the mic. First, the board will address hostility, I cut in. You mean people finally standing up? I tossed the fake meeting minutes on the table. These are forgeries. And here's video of Jake vandalizing my kid's bike, same day he claimed he was hurt. Liam chimed in, time-stamped. It rained that day. He's in the sun. Murmurs rolled through the crowd. Karen slammed her hand down. Enough, none of this is admissible. You don't get to shout illegal while you break the law, I snapped. I talked to the city clerk. None of her violations were approved. You're a dictator wrapped in pearls. Gasps, then nods. Mitch plugged in the security footage, Jake clear as day shoving Sam into the SUV. The room froze. Karen's face drained of color, Jake backed toward the door. I moved to impeach the board president, a woman called. Seconded, another echoed. Hands went up all over. It was over. It was... But Karen wasn't done. Outside, she stormed up. You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself, I shot back. Jake lunged. I stopped him cold. Try it, just one more time. He shrieked. Your brat deserved it. I shoved him back hard. Karen screamed, Call the cops, do it! I dared. We'll show them the footage again. For the first time, she looked scared. This isn't over, she hissed. For you, it's just beginning, I said. That night, I looked at the stars and felt hope for the first time in months. But I knew Karen wasn't finished. 2 weeks later, courtroom. Karen at the defendant's table, Jake beside her. The jury watched the footage, Jake shoving Sam Karen's voice on tape. Verdict, guilty of assault for Jake, negligence for Karen. The HOA dissolved Karen's name all over the news. A few days later, Sam and I walked back into that same parking lot. He looked up at me. Will she come back? No, son. Not ever again. We loaded our groceries in peace. No Karen, no Jake, just us. Stronger. In the end, it wasn't about revenge. It was about drawing a line not just in a parking lot, but in life. If you come for my family, you better be ready for the consequences. And as I watched Karen get dragged away in cuffs, Jake sobbing, I didn't feel triumph. I felt the cost. Violence stops an attack, but it doesn't erase scars. Sam still flinches at shouting, still touches his scar when he thinks I'm not looking. Me, I carry every choice I made, but silence helps no one. Sometimes even if your hands shake, you have to stand. So, what about you? Would you have stood up? Ever stayed quiet when you should have spoken? Comment justice if you think standing for what's right is worth it even when it's hard. Share your story below. If this hit, you don't scroll away, like, share, subscribe, help it reach someone who needs courage. Because it wasn't just about a parking lot, it's about what we refuse to let slide ever again.